Welcome back to Stay Chats. This is part 2 of dealing with trauma and insecurities with Daisy and Becky. What will they talk about today? Stay tuned to find out, because the show starts now.
What would you say is like your biggest insecurity? Like if you had to pick 3 of your top biggest insecurities, this is a chance for you to be vulnerable, and you can go ahead and step back from that if you'd like. But 3 of your biggest insecurities that will, like, if someone were to point it out, you would just shut down immediately. And 3 things that you feel the most confident of in yourself, like the absolute most confident in.
So you're going to notice, I think, that, okay, I'll just say it.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 biggest insecurities that I have are my butt,
Mm-hmm.
my stomach,
Mm-hmm.
and the beauty mark on my face. Not even a beauty mark. I don't know what they're called. The things that I love the most about myself is that I am a caring person. No,
You can't. Nope.
I have to.
Nope. You can do that last. You can tell me your personality traits last, but I want to know your physical attributes.
My eyelashes.
Because your insecurities are physical insecurities. They're not personality insecurities.
Yeah, but
So I want to know, what are your top 3, like you're most confident in your physical attributes? Your personality ones are great. We would love to hear them. Hell yeah. We'll give you a spotlight, but I want to hear your physical ones.
my eyelashes,
Mm-hmm.
my eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have nice eyebrows.
You think or you know?
I think. I don't. I think. And I don't know. I can't think of a third one.
Crazy how you were so quick for your insecurities like that. You were done in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And things that you're confident in took you a little bit longer. How does that make you feel? You look a little, I could tell on your face it's making you feel some type of way. So what is it invoking?
I'm get emotional. So
It's fine.
it just like, I don't know if like my insecurity stems from.
Trigger warning. Skip to 8 minutes and 16 seconds if you do not want to hear about sexual assault.
It's like the sexual assault that I experienced as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I've done my research. I haven't gone to therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and I should. That's a whole other thing.
Mhm.
But I've read that things like that can like
Right.
change your perception about yourself and how you
Mhm.
feel about yourself. So I think like I don't want to get into detail of what happened,
Right. You don't have to.
but well, I can. I just don't know if you want me to.
It's up to you.
Well,
That could be its own episode on its own.
okay, yeah, that could be its own episode.
We'll do that next.
But the grown adult man
Mhm.
in his 50s who did that to me, he would tell me things that he liked about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Do you feel comfortable sharing what are those things that he told you that he liked about you?
yeah, and just keep in mind, I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
He told me he liked my eyes. He told me he would like my eye, or he liked my eyes. When I'd be sleeping in the room and he would go into the bedroom, the first thing he would do is lay down behind me and like put his hands in my pants and like rub my butt.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell me that I was beautiful, and he would like look at my hands and kind of like, what is it?
Caress?
Yeah, like caress them, you know, because he wanted to put them somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
he told me like he would just compliment me,
Mm-hmm.
and that like grosses me out thinking about it because I was like 6, right?
Right.
But just like hearing those things and like thinking about like how he would say that stuff to me, maybe that's why
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for me to like look at myself and think good things, because all I can think of is blank saying those things to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a reason that I'm insecure, maybe, or like in my relationships, why I like don't want to be touched a certain way, or
Mm-hmm.
like my heart's beating like really fast, but I'm okay.
It's okay. Take
though.
your time, whatever you're comfortable with.
Like, I don't know. I think hearing those things as a kid and experiencing everything I experienced with not only him, but the other people that have done stuff to me in my life. And this is something that not even like my mom knows. But the way that these people got to me is by complimenting me. But it's like, why were only the grown men the ones that were attracted to me at freaking 6, you know? So it's kind of, I know that it's not my fault. I did not cause this to happen.
At all.
At all. I know that. As a 6-year-old, even like, there were times where I would like ask that man to like, oh, let me see your this. Because I thought that this is just what family does.
He groomed you.
He groomed me. And I know that even with that, it's still not my fault. But looking at myself, knowing what happened, or even imagining a guy like feeling something for me, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to put it into words. Like, I don't compare like a relationship, a guy to him, but I get a lot of like triggers and there's a lot of trauma from it. And there's a lot of trauma from when my family, I felt like they just disregarded the issue. And I wasn't worth calling the cops. Like, my family didn't call the cops when they found out. My family didn't beat the shit out of him when they found out. They didn't cut his dick off when they found out. It was just, did you do this? And he said, no, I didn't do it. And then I get called out to the living room at like 6 years old. Rebecca, did you see this person's you know what? Yeah, I did. Remember, you showed me. All super like innocent, not even knowing what was going on. And he was just like, she's a liar. And then they walked out of the house. And then me and my family never talked about it again. And it has been I'm 23. How many years has it been? Like 18 years, probably. 18 years. And finally this year, or actually, sorry, last year, I finally talked about it to my family. And it honestly, it helped a lot. Like, I was actually able to get out of bed for a while. I was able to go hang out with my family without just being so angry all the time at them. And I didn't know I was angry until I finally let it all out. I'm kind of going off topic, but
no, it's okay.
I think that is a lot of, like, my issues stem a lot from that. And from feeling like my family didn't think I was worth saving. Because when I think back to that moment, like, I'm picturing me in that bed and like, myself and as an adult going into that bedroom and like beating the shit out of that guy because nobody did. And like, this guy is still alive, living his life in a different country, probably still touching little kids, but his own wife, who is still in my life, like, she also didn't do anything about it. Like, nobody was there for that little girl at that time. And all the stuff that I went through after that and experienced after that, nobody was there for her. But yeah, I think that causes me to feel worthless, which makes me feel like I'm not good enough, which makes me feel like maybe if I look differently, I would be good enough. And it all, I think, ties to that. But I have not been to therapy. I have only talked about this stuff out loud, and little by little, I'm realizing things as I go. But I know that if I had therapy, so many doors would be opened that I have been purposely keeping closed. So I know once I'm ready, I do want to do that. But right now, just talking to you, like, it helps me realize and understand some stuff. Because I'm actually like talking out loud and not, a lot of people aren't comfortable with it. A lot of people like will say, oh, we don't have to talk about it, or no, we can talk about something else. Like, well, sometimes we need to talk about it.
Exactly. And that's
which is why we're here right now.
Exactly. Which is why we're here. And literally right before we talked about this, Becky was like, she seemed hesitant. And I was like, if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. Because I told her from the beginning, and I told her boyfriend this too, I will never make you guys talk about topics or say things that you are not comfortable with sharing. If you don't want to talk about it, or if you want to talk about it, but you don't want it in the episode, we'll cut it out. And so I was saying, if you're not comfortable with it, we don't have to talk about it. And she's like, no. I just don't know if you want me to talk about it. And I'm like, no, if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. This is your spotlight. This is your spotlight to go ahead and talk about whatever it is that you feel is what contributes to the topic that we're talking about today, right? So if what happened is a factor as to why you have these insecurities, talk about it, because that's your story. And that's what we're here to share, is your story.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a big factor in it. And it's something that I'm working on myself on, because I know it can be annoying for my partner, my boyfriend, to always hear like, oh, I'm so ugly. Oh, I'm so this. Oh, I look ugly in this. Like, I know it's annoying to hear that all the time. But then in my head, it's like, well, you don't tell me I'm pretty enough. Well, if he tells me I'm pretty, I'm going to know that he's lying. It's not that I know that he's lying, but in my head, I know you're lying.
Right.
I know you're saying that because you have to say that.
Right.
Or like, I think, okay, well, I'm not as pretty as your last girlfriend. So.
Or even something that you said last night when he was, you know, spewing out beautiful words to her, and granted, we had a lot of drinks in at that point and it was after a heavy therapy session.
Right.
But the first words that you said after he said how much he loves you, how beautiful you are to him, I bet she's told your last girl that. Or you said something like that. Yeah. How many other girls have you said that to? Or I bet you told your last girlfriend that.
But it's a fact. Like, I know he told his last girlfriends that. That's what a boyfriend does.
But what does that change in, like, how does that impact you today, though?
It's
What? Just like you have told a boyfriend in the past, I care about you, I love you, you're so handsome to me, or whatever. That doesn't change your relationship today with him.
Right.
Just as maybe him at some point told another girl, I think you're beautiful, because maybe that girl also would say, I'm so ugly. And what is your boyfriend going to say? No, yeah, you are kind of ugly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's a thing. That's like I guess me saying you've said that to other girls is just me like wanting to push him away from complimenting me. Like, I want to make him mad so he can stop.
I wonder if that has you being uncomfortable with your boyfriends complimenting you, and maybe even your friends too, comes from that man who, you know, did what he did to you when he molested you, getting to you and grooming you by complimenting you, because now you associate compliments with a negative act, right?
Yeah.
Like, it may trigger you.
Right.
And so even though you so desperately want to feel beautiful and you want to believe your partner when they tell you, your inner child doesn't let you believe it, because your inner child is still so wounded by what happened. So every time your inner child hears someone telling adult you're so beautiful, you're the most beautiful woman in the world to me, I only have eyes for you, your inner child is hearing, no, this person just wants to harm me. This person just wants to groom me, or this person just wants to do what that person did to me. And again, this is just an I wonder.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds accurate. I mean, it makes sense. But I don't think that far ahead, you know?
Right.
I've never thought about it like that. But it doesn't mean I want to be stopped, or I want.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you don't want compliments, because that's what you want.
Because then it'll make me feel worse.
Right. But I think the challenge is here, how do you disconnect the negative, or not disconnect, but how do you heal from your inner child wounds? And how do you allow your inner child to say, it's okay if somebody tells me this person doesn't want to hurt me? Because it's not, yes, it's adult you healing, but I think this is a lot of inner child work that you have to do. Adult you has to go in and be that parent figure, be that adult figure to 6-year-old Becky, and show Becky that love that 6-year-old Becky didn't get, and be that protector that 6-year-old Becky didn't get.
And I think that's why I'm fighting and not taking the compliments. Like, don't talk to her like that. You know?
Right.
And a lot of the times when I am thinking about that situation, it's not often, it's just if something triggers me, or if somebody brushes my arm a certain way, it like, I start to shake a little bit. And it happens a lot. But I've learned to, like, I don't talk about it when it happens.
Right.
It's in my head. My body kind of like tenses up and I think, but then I'm okay. Like, we'll just have a conversation, but you'll brush my arm and then I'll think that. And in my head, I'm like, I'm remembering everything, but I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
Because like, I don't want you to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, you didn't know. You literally brushed my arm. Like, you laughed and hit my arm. But you have no idea that actually affects me a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But maybe it's you fighting rather than, you know, actually not that you're not protecting, because fighting is your way of protecting.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like you want to protect her, but you're like fighting someone rather than saying, hey, no, like, let's think about this rationally. Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you had to think about like how you would protect a physical child, you probably wouldn't get into a physical fight with someone or a word fight with someone, right? Because you don't want the kid to see that.
Oh, yeah.
You would try to handle it a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. All I want to do is fight.
Mm-hmm.
Not literally, like, I'll lose in a fight.
Yeah.
What
you
want to
tussle, you want to hustle.
Right, exactly. When I picture, that's what I was kind of going into. Like when I think about that, when I do get brushed on the shoulder, or when I do think about that situation, I see that little girl in the bed and I see myself in the corner just watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because there was somebody standing there watching at that time and I'm putting myself in that place, or if it's literally me just trying to get to her, but I can't.
Again, I'm not a therapist, but what you're mentioning right now sounds very similar to what I mentioned in the last episode.
Trigger warning. Skip to 17 minutes and 45 seconds if you do not want to hear about self-harm.
When something happens in my life that makes me feel like shit is hitting the fan, I spiral back and I feel myself physically regressing to like my inner child. And when I feel myself, like I literally feel myself like becoming helpless in a way. Mm-hmm. In my head, like I see myself being in my room when I lived in a house, when I lived in Marietta, when I was 12. And I can see my room, how it was painted. It was empty because the moment in time in my head that's frozen is when we were moving out. And I'm sitting in a corner in a room and I'm trying to find in my empty room, trying to find something to cut myself with. And adult me is standing by the door on one corner, is seeing my child, 12-year-old self sitting in that corner, being like knees up to my chest, like just being so sad and crying. So what you're describing is like, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what that is like. If maybe there was someone there. For me, at least for me in my experience, nobody was there. I was by myself in my room, but I see adult me. I'm watching it from my adult self perspective, seeing my 12-year-old child self. And it could be that maybe could be your experience too, or maybe like you said, maybe there was someone there and that's why you're doing that.
I do think it's that. It's heavy.
It is. It's a lot to deal with.
It is.
And it's hard because it's something that, again, that we've talked about on this podcast is in our culture, in our Hispanic culture, therapy is not something that is recommended. It's not like literally you tell your family you're going to therapy and they think you're crazy. They will literally ask you, ¿Qué estás loca o qué?
Yeah.
Like, are you crazy or what? And
or if you say like you think you're depressed or something, just get over it.
Yeah, like what do you have to be depressed about?
Exactly.
Like, what do you have to be sad about?
Yeah.
Like, just go do something.
Yeah.
Go work. You're
Right.
not working hard enough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
All those emotions are brushed aside in our culture. So now as adults, we're trying to figure out how to cope with these big feelings. And again, it's kind of like that conversation that we were having about kids. Kids have big feelings and parents should be there to help them navigate through these feelings.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that. Maybe
Right.
they helped us navigate positive feelings, right? They validated our positive feelings and when we did good things. But when we had big feelings, nobody was there to help us navigate that. Right. We had to either learn to cope on ourselves or learn how to push it down. And so now we're in our mid-20s trying to figure out and dealing with the consequences of putting down our emotions for 20 plus years.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And now we're teaching ourselves and having to reparent ourselves that it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to talk about things that make us sad. It's okay to talk about hard topics. It's okay to put ourselves first.
Yeah.
Which is not something that we can do in our culture,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I know my family, at least my mom, is a lot more Americanized. But she was raised with a like Mexican mom, and a lot of her parenting ways stem from that too.
Right.
And I think, honestly, I think I was raised fine. You know, there are some things in my past that I, think about, and everyone's going to have issues in their past.
Right.
But all together, I think I grew up okay.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what situations we had that were really, really bad, like I turned out fine. You know, I could have turned out way worse than I actually did with everything that I've been through. So I give a lot of that to my mom. I do wonder why, like when she wants to hug me, I don't want to hug her. Or when she wants to lay on my legs when we're on the couch, I just want her to get off me.
Is it just her, or would you accept that affection from somebody else in your family?
I think it's just her. Mm-hmm. And she has never done anything to me that would make me feel like that. But again, stemming from, why didn't you do anything about it when he hurt me?
Right.
So, but I love my mom. Like if she listens to this, I love you, Mom. And I've told her before, like when we had this conversation, she cried to me and she apologized to me for not killing him. You know, I know that, you know, that's kind of bad to say, but she did apologize for not hurting him. Mm-hmm. And I accept her apology, but it takes time to heal.
Yeah.
I forgive the guy who did that stuff to me.
It's big.
Yeah, I forgive him. I do not forgive the people who stayed in his life after knowing what he did to me. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm still struggling to forgive or to heal or whatever. Which is crazy because they physically did not do anything to me, but they emotionally abused me in my head.
Right.
I have cousins, I have aunts that I'm just now learning after, like I said, I just finally came out with all this stuff to my family. I'm learning that my cousins, they stopped talking to that man's wife. Mm-hmm. The man's wife is still in my life, and she's a big part of our lives. And I found out that my cousin stopped talking to her because she still stayed with that person after knowing what he did to me. Mm. And I was like, why am I still in this person's life when my own cousins who have nothing to do with this literally care about me so much that they stopped talking about it? Mm-hmm. So then that stuff, you know, it makes me feel good, but all these people are on the outside. Mm-hmm. They're the people around. They're not the people in the actual circle. They're just watching out from outside.
Right.
They cared so much, but why didn't the people inside the circle care? Mm-hmm. You know?
Right.
So it's just, I think it's a lot. I think it all connects. I don't know how. I don't know what map to draw to try to figure out where it comes from, really, or like what else is affecting me in my life that's causing me to do that. Like I'm insecure about work, but does it stem from that? I don't think so. Like that's just one of my insecurities.
Right.
My looks, you know. I'm confident in my personality.
Yeah, you're stellar.
I think I'm a good person. Mm-hmm. I really worked on my anger. Yeah. I used to just snap at anything, and now I take time to realize no matter how much I scream and yell or fight and whatever, there's nothing you can do to change it.
Right.
So I've been working on myself for sure.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is my physical appearance. Mm-hmm. I hate it. And I'll wear earrings and stuff because it does make me feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah.
But then when I see a girl walking by that looks better than me, it's like, okay, let me take these off. Let me take my eyeshadow off because I'm never going to look like that.
Right.
So that's pretty much it.
That was a lot, but I just want to thank you a lot for being so vulnerable and sharing so much, especially about what happened when you were younger. Mm-hmm. I know it's difficult to have those conversations, especially when you've never really talked about it. You suppressed it for so long.
Yeah.
So I really just want to say thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that, because to me, looking from the outside, I could see why you have those insecurities, why you have those arguments with your partner, why you feel the way you do, why you feel you have certain mentalities. Like you said, this is just one insecurity.
Right.
Yeah. We've already had a long episode, so I'm sure we could talk about all the other insecurities that can come from a variety of different things. Mm-hmm. But I think the physical insecurity is something that we can all relate. We all have insecurities, mm-hmm. and we all have insecurities that stop us from feeling confident, that stop us from going out to places, that stop us from meeting new people, mm-hmm. because we're not secure with ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think one step forward is to talk about it, like you said, not just avoid talking about it because it's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
So allowing each other to have that room to just talk about our experiences, I think is what's going to help to break that barrier and break that glass ceiling that we have where people know that it's there but never want to talk about it.
Yeah, agreed. And I want to add one thing. If there's somebody that is dealing with something that they're suppressing, they've been sexually assaulted, a lot of the times, either one, they don't tell the people around them and they hide it, or two, their parents or their family will tell them to not talk about it, but they'll still see that person at like family parties. I just want to say, just because these people are your blood does not mean that you need to have them in your life.
Right.
If somebody you think loves you is forcing you to face your
abuser,
the thing you're most afraid of, if they're forcing you to do that, they do not love you like you think they do. And you need to go find your own family.
Right.
And you cannot keep hiding from the rest of your family that, for example, that cousin sitting at that table molested me when I was little. Like, you cannot hide that from the rest of your family. And if you are telling your family and they are keeping that a secret, that is not your family.
Exactly.
Family does not have to be blood. Family is going to care about you. Family is going to take you out of the situation. Some family might beat the shit out of these people, you know?
Yeah.
We should never hurt people, but
right.
you know.
We're not condoning violence.
Not at all.
What happens.
But things happen, right?
Yeah.
So never allow anybody to shut you up, and never be afraid to talk about it, because it's not your fault.
Right.
I don't care if you were 15 and they were 30 and you feel like at 15 you're an adult. You're not an adult.
Exactly. Even if you are an adult.
Even if you if you are an adult. I guess I'm speaking more towards like children, minors, yeah, minors, sexual assaults towards minors,
right?
The adult version, you know, there's so much, but even if you're 17 and the person was 30 or 40, like never feel like you were the one saying yes, you were the one asking for it, because even if you literally did say, hey, let's go do it, to this 40-year-old, as a 15-year-old, that is not you actually wanting to do it.
Exactly. The adult is always the one that's responsible. Even if you're 17, it is not your fault, even if you were the one asking for it, because most likely than not, you were being groomed. And even if you weren't, the adult should be like, yo, no, this is inappropriate.
Exactly. And as children and teenagers, we don't know any better. We just know what's going on at that moment. We think that it's something that we want. But you're going to meet people that have dealt with those things, and years later, like, they are torn from it, emotionally just broken, because they allowed themselves to believe that they wanted that the whole time. So I would just speak out. Do not hide it. It's not, honestly, it's not embarrassing.
No,
like, it should not be embarrassing. It should be everybody coming together and kicking out the freaking nasty, disgusting people out of our lives.
Yeah. Very agreed.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on today's episode.
Of course.
I will put some information down. That way, if any of you need someone to talk to, I will look up information for minors, any hotlines that you guys can talk to, and for adults as well. And, you know, don't be afraid to reach out. Remember, doesn't matter what the situation was, what you were wearing, what you said, what happened, how drunk you were, how high you were, doesn't matter. You never asked for it, and you did not do anything that would ever make you worthy of someone abusing you in any matter. So reach out to a friend, reach out to family if you feel comfortable. And like Becca said, if family is making you feel that you have to hide your traumas and hide that in order to keep the peace, respectfully, tell them to fuck off.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
And so, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be having another episode and a little bonus episode, because I'm going to be here for a couple more days. Next up is going to be a really interesting episode. It's going to be not the first man that we had, but yes, the first man that we are going to be talking about men's mental health. We will be having Becky's boyfriend on the podcast. So I'm really excited about that. So if any of you men, which I know there are a good bunch of you men listening out here, stay tuned for that episode. That's going to be a really good one, targeted for you guys specifically, and my ladies and everybody else. Feel free to listen to, because it will give you some good insight.
Yes.
Until next time, embrace the day.